I'm Dave McPherson. I'm a director in our cloud business at Google. Very fortunate for many years to be working with Colgate-Palmolive in a special relationship and a partnership. And I work with a couple of other CPGs, but of course, dear to my heart is Colgate-Palmolive. So a couple of words I can skip about Brigitte because you heard them. I'll turn it over to her very soon. When we think about Colgate-Palmolive and the global brand, 200 plus years, I think almost 217 now and counting. Oral care, personal care, home care, pet nutrition, I think the words have shifted slightly. And skin health as a new part of the business. And like was alluded to earlier, Chief Digital Officer, the first Chief Digital Officer in a digital transformation for a 200-year-old company. Can you take us from there, Brigitte?
Sure. So first, thank you for having me, and it's exciting to even just hear some of the panels prior to this one. And looking at the agenda, you've heard a lot today about a lot of different things. So I'll try to stay focused on where I think can help advance the conversation around digital transformations and why they're so important. For us at Colgate-Palmolive, we are a classic CPG, right? Over 200 years old. But we have a mission and we have a vision, and it's not just to transform digitally, it's to bring our products into the hands of consumers that matter, right? A healthier future for people, pets, and their planet. So if you take that in mind, digital will be a key conduit towards that. And that's a big part of the transformation that I'm trying to drive within the company. How do we exercise our digital media better, buy it and deploy it and measure it for maximum capability? How do we drive digital commerce? So we're penetrating in that arena, which is fast growing, fast moving. And how do we really embed digital behaviors into classic brand marketing behaviors? And so that's the transformation we're on. It's huge. We do it with a lot of partners. A lot of people help. It's not just within Colgate, but partners like Google, Circus Street, Group M. These are all people that we partner with to make this vision come to pass.
Thank you. We talked about getting a bit more specific today, talking about the digital shelf and why does this matter in the omni-channel environment? So can you take us in the first step? Why is the digital shelf so relevant today?
Sure. I mean, look, in CPG, right, the shelf matters. And for years and years, the physical shelf mattered above all else. Has anyone done, I have, their share of planogram sets or resets? So that's really important, and it still is. The physical touch point is real, and it always will be. I think what we are all discovering together is the power of the digital shelf. You have to be as good at, if not better, at the digital shelf than the physical shelf today. Why? Because it's part of the consumer journey. It's part of the touch point. It's part of being omni-channel. It's absolutely part of how you get good at mastering consumer algorithm-driven data. And that's really different than doing physical resets. And it's absolutely part of the journey. And so we have to get good at both. And the most important factoid that I could share with you, if anyone who hasn't read the stat yet, right, today, over 60% of physical sales are digitally influenced. And that is only going to grow. So if you think about that, it means that experiences on digital matter, and they absolutely influence physical performance as well.
So Colgate has always been good about focusing. When you think, as we narrow down on the digital shelf, where are the areas you have to focus on to do this well?
Yeah, so at Colgate-Palmolive, I can tell you that focus is mandatory. If you can't get it on one slide, you're often asked to summarize your point better. So there are really 4 key focus areas that matter for the digital shelf for us. And they're institutionalized, they're KPI-driven, they're quantified, and they're measured. One is availability. The second is search. The third is content. And the fourth is ratings and reviews. So we're very zeroed in and laser focused that that's where we're going to have to win. Availability means, are you in stock? Right? But it doesn't just mean, are you in stock? It means if you're not in stock, what's going on behind the scenes that you have to go fix? And then if you aren't in stock, are you at least redirecting people to a relatable product, right, within your brand that could serve the same purpose? Search, right? I'm a big passion person about search. It matters, right? Search is how you get found. It's how you're visible. It's a huge part of brand building today. So are you above the fold? Do you have the right, content for people who are searching for the solutions that you can offer them? Third is obviously content is key. It's king. You talked about PDPs and optimization. It's amazing when you go online how many PDPs are simply not optimized today. And then when you kind of peel the onion back and you try to figure out why, there's usually a whole host of problems in that, right? Either not enough content, not good content, no digital asset management system, not enough fluidity in getting that content where you want it at the right time, right place. And then, of course, ratings and reviews. I think that goes without saying. Today, what consumers say about you matters. And so it's really important that you master the digital shelf with those 4 capabilities and KPIs.
So when we were talking earlier, it became really clear, and even from just listening to you talk now, that you as the Chief Digital Officer work across many cross-functional teams, and then you were alluding to this being a catalyst. Can you go into how the digital shelf could be a catalyst for these teams?
Sure. The digital shelf is highly measurable and it's important to win it. But I also look at it as a change management tool. I think it is absolutely that at its core. I can put digital analytics out there all day long, but what really happens is it's a change management tool. You're talking about bringing in different functional experts at different moments to solve root cause problems. You're talking about democratizing data. So teams who are working have to work differently together to solve those problems. And so I think it's a catalyst for change. And I've seen it really work at Colgate-Palmolive. We're just solving problems differently. We're upskilling ourselves constantly to basically aim at the same thing, which is win the digital shelf.
So that was a lot around the what. Can you take us back now to a higher level? Like why are we doing this? Why now?
So I think you started by saying, Colgate's the older CPG company, but that is really undergoing a massive transformation. End-to-end digitalization is in our vision. And the why behind it is a couple of things. Obviously, it helps us get our products at the right time in the right place to the right people and help really fulfill our mission and vision as a company, and it creates growth for the company. But importantly, we're upskilling all of our employees. We had an upskilling program on digital across a lot of domains. Over 16,000 people went through the program. We partnered with people like Circus Street. We partnered with our internal learning and development team to really tailor modules because we want our people to be the best they can be. And we also brought in a lot of talent. A lot of talent has come into Colgate-Palmolive so that we can fulfill our digital vision. So there's a lot of the whys behind it, which are really important, especially around where we want to go from here. And if you ask me, the goal is to be more digital in everything that we're doing. And that's all the way from supply chain to marketing.
Well, to follow up on be more digital, stepping away from just the digital self, maybe more digital self. It's not a term, right? To your job as the Chief Digital Officer more generally, this transformation, you've been there for a couple of years. What do you see that's the priority for you? What do you see kind of working well? Maybe for the audience, some of the things that you've learned along the way?
Sure. Probably up there with hardest job ever. If we're going a little off script, it's one that requires a lot of deep expertise and skill in the domains that you have to know how to navigate, manage, and guide and steer. There's a tremendous amount of change management in the role, right, and in digital transformations in general. And you have to be able to have the resiliency to kind of do those at scale. We're global, right? So we're talking about being in over 200 markets, doing this type of work, deep, thorough, technical work, but to advance, right, the mission of where we're going. The third thing I would say is you have to be really good at building partnerships, right? Partnerships within your organization and across functions, of course. but also partnerships with key players, vendors outside the company that can help us along that journey. So Google's been one of those for us and many others. And so you have to really make sure you're leveraging and constantly watching what's on the horizon. The hardest part is staying ahead of the curve. So, every day in digital is the best part of the job and my favorite. There's something new to master, right? I mean, I read all about what's going on with AI and just when you think about the potential downstream effect of that technology and what can happen in the future, it's fascinating and it's stimulating. It's really an interesting place to be today.
We didn't talk about going into AI, right? It wasn't in the script, so we won't go into it unless the questions come up, and there'll be a minute for questions. So I've seen, looking on LinkedIn or just being around Colgate people, their passion for growth and for learning and this upskilling, a lot of this is falling to you as the Chief Digital Officer. Can you also tell us a little bit about what's important to you there and how you see this working?
Sure. One of the big things that I do believe is, and something that I've seen Colgate step up into constantly and consistently is we believe in the power of we, our people. It's a lot about investing in our people. So there's been a very intense, likely quite expensive upskilling program that has really touched, as I said, 16,000 people around the world. So there are modules around digital media, around programmatic, around 1P data, around digital shelf, analytics. All of this is available to our employees. And we also allow our employees to take a digital IQ assessment. So they, again, self-reported, right? They take it, they figure out what they know a lot about and what they don't, and then we can self-select their learning modules and program for them online, all digital. And by the way, we did a lot of this because when I joined Colgate, we were in the middle of the pandemic, so everything was virtual. So all the training programs were 100% online, and that's been, a huge success for us. We've also done badging. So if you go on LinkedIn, you'll see our partnership with Circus Street, and we do digital badging. So if you fulfill a bunch of modules, you also get your recognition publicly on what you've achieved and what you've done. So it's a true testament to investing in our people. And that's been a lot of work to create and do, but again, with partners and with the best of intentions, which is elevate our organization and create equitable learning opportunities on digital for everybody.
So that leads me into the culture of curiosity, and as a leader in such an established company and trying to bring them to the digital age, like how are you inspiring people to remain curious and adventurous?
Okay, so that wasn't on the script, but I'm happy to play with that one. No, I'm joking, it's fine. I personally believe curiosity is one of the most important things I look for when I'm interviewing talent. It's actually, I'm always looking to understand how curious is this person. And my interpretation of that is also like, how willing are they to learn what they don't know yet? I think that's how I try to institutionalize curiosity even into my team. I love to learn from members of my team. They're going to know things that I don't know. They're going to make me better and deeper at knowledge in domains of expertise and that they really own, control, and have learned. I was listening to the panel before us, right? I mean, these are all MarTech and AdTech people that know exactly what to do about cookieless and how to think differently about performance marketing. So I think curiosity, if I'm answering your question, is one of the key tenets of being really good at any job, and I think it's a prerequisite for being great at digital.
The last question I have prepared, best practices for activating on digital. Maybe this goes to the more broad theme for the audience to make an impact and a business impact. So can you share more on how you see that?
Best practices?
For activation.
So I'll answer it through the lens of best practices for activating a really robust digital transformation. And I would tell you it's a couple of things. You've got to have tremendously good experts and people around you because it takes a village. It is not one person who creates a transformation. Second, I think that you have to have radical clarity on your strategy. It is a complex field. There is a lot to focus on and do. You have to be able to distill and synthesize your strategy on a page. What does this mean to this business? Why is it important now? And you have to phase that. There will be a transformation phase that'll last like 1 to 2 years. Then when you move into year 3 and 4, you're going to have to update that transformation. And I think it's really important to keep it simple, keep it clear, keep it digestible. One of the most important lessons I've learned at Colgate-Palmolive has been that radical clarity is required. And you want to be able to have your strategy on a page so that everyone from the CEO to, a product manager in Singapore knows exactly what you mean for Colgate-Palmolive when you say we are doing a digital transformation. So I think that's just some of the best practices that I've seen. And I think, of course, it takes a whole lot of work. Partnership with IT, partnership with your agency, and a willingness, this is the hardest part, to make the changes that are required to get great at digital.
Another word that I've heard that I've been with Colgate for many years, so in the last few years, what seems a bit new to me is kind of being on offense at Colgate and using maybe data to be on offense and play on offense 100%. Can you tell us about that strategy?
I would say that we're just, we're leaning forward. We're leaning forward to be really good at people-centric insights, using digital data to get more intelligent about our decision making, driving data-driven decisioning into the organization. And I think that's something that we are just more about being proactive and leaning into so that we can really be the best of CPG at what we're doing.
Good answer. We have a couple of minutes left for questions. Are you ready for a few questions from the audience? I'm willing to share my microphone if anyone's interested.
Hey, how you doing? My name's John. I work at Sadara, which is a carbon intelligence platform. So question then, Brigitte, how much is sustainable media coming into your digital plans like this year and going into next?
So we have a very robust sustainability program at Colgate-Palmolive, led by Ann Tracy, and she's our Chief Sustainability Officer, and she's done amazing work all the way to the Colgate recyclable toothpaste tube, which is a really big deal in terms of our sustainability efforts and environmental concerns. We have not yet, I would say, mastered the domain you're talking about and thought about, we're starting to think about it. And how we do that, I'm not quite sure yet, but it's definitely on our radar. Happy to talk more to you about that.
Maybe it's also coming to the cleanest cloud. I know one. I wasn't supposed to answer, was I?
Touché.
Any other questions? We get an award for making up time, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully you get a break now, right?
That's right.
Thank you.